All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Tuesday, April 9th. Doug Zanger, editor-in-chief, Indie Agency News. I decided to put some different music on this time. Yeah, see, it's got a little 4 in the morning Eurobeat going, getting us ready for Cannes. You'll see the new Sommes Independant hat. It's part of the merch. Let's go to the merch. All right. Yes, the Cannes Indie Trucker hat. Get yourself a beach towel, the Indie AF. That's turning into the classic. People are starting to go into this in droves. God, I'm starting to sound like such a huckster here. But no, people are kind of digging this. I haven't gotten a sample of the denim jacket yet, but we do have the crew neck sweatshirt, and then we're going state and market or market specific with the Indie AF hat. So we were in Colorado a couple months ago, and there you go. There's the Colorado one. So go to indieagency.news. Get you some merch. All right, today is Indie Thinking. First, I want to thank Techniques for the new headphones. These are the A800. I can tell you right now. So they're corded, but they are wireless as well. You can hear everything. So if the strings are supposed to be over here, they're over here. If the horns are supposed to be over here, they're over here. It is delicious, delectable sound. Thank you to Robert Douglas from Left Off Madison for kicking those our way. And we're going to be giving a few pair away. Speaking of Cannes, in France. More on that soon. I want to cover what we have going on this week before we bring in our amazing guests. We've got Giant Spoon tomorrow, meeting Indie Agency, and then 368 and special guest with the studio, España. I'm going to mess it up, so I'm just not even going to try. American. We're going to be talking about Tomb Raider and Universal Robots. That's Indie Work Live. And then on Friday, Pun Fight, which is sponsored by Delicious. And that's Q for bringing in our good friend, managing director of Delicious, Russell Barnett.
What's going on, Doug Zanger? Can I add to your merch collection, dude?
You can add to the merch collection.
Dude, I got merch on my socks today. Are you kidding me? You can sell these on there too.
Listen, I love the socks.
You want some buttons? What do you need? I got it all.
Hey, let me tell you. So my family's from New Jersey, and we went down to Atlantic City once.
Yeah.
Well, we went down to Atlantic City a lot. But one time we went down there, and it was outside of the casino, and it's like those carnival games. And so this guy's like, "Hey, how you doing? All right, good. All right, give me $20. All right, you got to do this, and then okay, give me 5. I'll give you 2, and then you get 2, and then you get 5, and then you get 5 chances at that." And next thing I know, I'm like 150 down, and I've won a small plastic. Yeah, that button you just showed me would have been like the booty. So
that was it. You look what you won.
I know, but it's good for a story. It's always good for a story. And your story, professional broadcast segue there. Hey. I love your story. So as a little bit of a background on this, you and I first met when I was at Adweek, and we were doing Brand Week. And one of the coolest things that we did was we brought in a lot of brands that, they're challenger brands or D2C brands. And I can't remember what stage you were at My Mochi, but I remember. So you sent me this huge care package afterwards. We have a blast. Yep. Meanwhile, I'm talking to one of the marketing VPs at Walmart and like trying it. It's like the whole thing, right? So my daughter comes in. She came in because you had sent us this huge box.
Yep.
And so my daughter comes in and is like, "I tried this. This is really good." It just completely video bombing us. But your history goes back a ways. Now you are the managing director at Delicious. Yep. But I want to go back because your background is incredibly interesting. So take us from the beginning of your career up to now. Yeah, I know.
Funnily enough, I started in the agency business. I don't know if you know that.
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was a creative director at a pharma agency eons ago, and thought that I would end up doing that in that world, and didn't quite work out that way. I got a nice phone call from a gentleman named Anthony Von Mandel, and he was starting some new beverage that he wanted to do, which is now Mike's Hard Lemonade, and asked me to come on and run this thing. And I had no business running this thing. And I said, yeah, it's great. It's, it's alcohol, but, let's treat it like a fashion brand, and, and so we ran like hell and built a category. And now, sort of White Claw 2.0 is that brand. And it's still here today. And, we took and created a category out of nothing. And, from that, I got lucky and launched the Pop Chips brand and took that to, $115 million and built that, and got a little luckier by then adding to the resume, Gardein plant-based protein, which we sold off to ConAgra, taking them from about 30 million to a little over 90 million in run rate in a couple of years. And then a couple of other small stints, and then got, which we sold up to PepsiCo and the like. And then got a chance to join My Mochi with as the original management team from the private equity group that sort of drafted us, the equity group that had really no business owning a food business, but got lucky because sort of the food business missed it. And the vision was really to take this silly little item and bring it to the masses. And we did that in about 6 years. We created a category, and, really we're the genesis of the, the handheld frozen snack category. And did all the damage we were supposed to do there in all the right ways. And obviously that brand is still killing it. And, but as you start to think about where the business is, and, my love of food and my love of snacks and my love of creativity and joyfulness in the day-to-day little things, I got the opportunity to come over to London, and where I am today, and run a brand called Dolicious, the London Dough Co. Which is, right up my alley. Been this, really amazing, excellent starter brand that's been doing some damage over in Europe since about 2017. And I think they just got the opportunity to expand out into the US and Australia and a couple of other places. And it was the right time at the right place for the right sort of next evolution of what I love to do, which is snacking and dough.
Well, and when you told me about this, I was just like, yeah, this is perfect. So here's what's interesting, because you mentioned Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah.
You mentioned Pop Chips. You mentioned My Mochi. So this is a slightly similar but different situation in that the handheld frozen snack category, which is different from a popsicle, let's be honest. A totally different thing. It's interesting because now, as you defined the category with My Mochi, now you're a little bit of a challenger. The category is there. So I'm curious about what you learned that is informing some of the directions that you're going.
No, look, it is about as easy as it gets. And look, what I would say to you is, we share a common shape, and that's about it. I would define the beginning, the genesis of this handheld frozen snack category as one that really, really sits super strong in that of sweet and treat. And when one thinks of sweet and treat, that's, it's a great beginning, but you can't build on sweet and treat, and because of that word treat. And treat means, by default, it cannot be all the time.
Right.
And so when we think about what we're doing, and what we make is cookie dough wrapped around gelato and then rolled in cookie crumb, which is ridiculous. And by the way, it all is naturally gluten-free because we use oat flour, and every ball is 100 calories or less. So what you now have is, you've now moved from sweet and treat to indulgent snack.
Oh, that's such an interesting framing.
And so there's room for everybody. But what it allows you to do is, it allows you to say, look, common shape is great. Handheld snacking is established. But where is that headroom to go from, say, a 10% household penetration to an 80% household penetration? And not understanding this idea of, teaching people how to chew their ice cream with a dough and ice cream item, but now how to extend that out into dough that you know and understand, cookie dough.
Right.
Right. So now there's the way to really start to play and frame.
So I'm curious. So when you came in, obviously there was a market.
Yeah.
And there were customers.
Sure.
Where was the ceiling to break through to that? Because you've laid out like, okay, an indulge, it's not something for every day. I mean, our kids would argue differently.
It's for every day.
Right. But I'm curious about what data and research and where was it getting stuck at that ceiling? I'm just curious because it's like, oh, if you go into Waitrose or Sainsbury, it's like, oh, maybe I don't, as opposed to, oh, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, absolutely. So
what I'd say to you is, look, when you start with early stage companies, you're data poor,
right?
But you're also look, you bring a lot of knowledge in, and you start to identify, attributes that allow one to sort of move in directions. And look, and I would say that, look, there's just some base level ideas of when you look at SKU count and the types of SKUs that sell better than in one type of product versus another type of product. You don't need a lot of research because the consumer's done all the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really clear as day.
Yeah.
So the pathway's there. Again, we're not reinventing something here. We're expanding upon an idea that's already been established. And now you just got to follow the consumer in a way that's smart and thoughtful and complements the way that they're thinking about your brand.
Right. When you arrived, the brand had, so how do I describe this in a way? It had.
I can help you.
Well, let me try. It felt like something that you would find at a garden shop in the Cotswolds.
Yeah.
Like it had that sort of it was playful, but not. I don't know. So go ahead.
Yeah. Look, I would tell you that I love to build things and create impact. And I'm not the guy who's going to come in with the idea for what something is, but I will certainly help you make it relevant and scalable. And what we took was this really great idea. And honestly, this was a happy accident in a lot of ways. This was started in 2014, but really 2017, it got commercialized by a woman named Catherine Bricken, who started the business, and she's a force, and and a baker at heart. And through a lot of luck and trial and tribulation, really built this amazing platform. And where that starts is product first.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. And then it moves. No worries. There you go. It starts with product first, and then you go to operations. How do you make it? And then at some point, you got to say, oh, geez, what do I do with this thing on the shelf? And so the job was really to come in and help take a family-run business and professionalize it in a way that becomes a world-class operating partner. And the brand was the place that we really started first.
Right. So yeah, and this was your reveal.
That was our reveal in the UK.
Yeah, because and I love I really, really love the where you went with it.
Yeah.
And so you look from the beginning to now, and I don't have a before picture.
It's okay. It's okay. It's what we really leaned into was this sort of epic notion of a snack in a way that stretches the limits of things. And so what you see is this beautiful, malleable type that we created. You see the hero image of the product first and foremost. You see these beautiful, vibrant, buzzy colors, and you get it instantly. It's not a big teaching moment. It's just eye on the prize.
Yeah. No, and tell me about the font and just because again, this is part of. And if memory serves, you did something similar at and I think about all the brands that you've worked with and worked on. There is impact, but also accessibility to it.
Everything's about accessibility. I'm unapologetically to the masses.
Right.
And so, you know,
Right.
what that allows is a lot of clear vision as to what's attractive and what's nice to have, and keeping a focus on what is meaningful for the end consumer, those snackers at large,
Right.
is the most important thing. And, you know, we make a platform of cookie dough items that
Right.
happen to be better for you.
And that's, yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
No,
and, and then we lovingly say, you know, when we think about what this thing leads to is, you know, we want the emotive piece of the business to align with the physical piece of the business.
right.
So where the cookie dough delicious is made from. So you connect this
Mhm.
idea even further. And then we even drag it out a little further with language like super sneaky good, which gives everything
Yeah.
about the taste and all
Yeah.
the joy of the better for you without saying, hey, look at this, you know, gluten-free, all natural, blah, blah.
Right. Right.
You know, we don't have to play in that space, because it's all about the joy. And then you turn it over and you find the things that feel good for you.
That's exactly right. What
Yeah.
feels good for us is that Delicious is the official 4 p.m. snack
Yes, it
of
is.
Indie Agency News. We've sort of teased it a little bit, but now that we actually have you here, it is the official 4 p.m. snack
It
of
is.
Indie Agency News. So for the Brits, usually it's a custard cream, it's tea, it's, you know, other sundry articles. But honestly, I look at 4 o'clock, I'm like, oh God, I just want this day to end.
Exactly.
So we are the pick me up. You are the official 4 p.m. snack of Indie Agency.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We'll have to make sure we get some more over to you straight away.
Yeah, but talk about distribution, because again,
Yeah.
you talked about, and then we're going to talk about you as a marketer,
Yeah.
and how you look at choosing agencies and some things that agencies can learn from that.
Cool. Yeah.
But talk about distribution, because I know Whole Foods now, and it's starting to get wider here in the US.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it started obviously here in the UK, and you know, we're in full distribution here. We're fairly, you know, we're effectively ubiquitous. We're in Australia as well through the largest retailers down there with Woolies. And then in the US, you know, we just launched Whole Foods. We'll go national with them in April, and then the gloves come off later in the year, and just about anywhere you can think of, you'll find a Delicious in your freezer.
I like it. The gloves
Yeah, it's
coming
really
off.
cool.
Yeah.
It's a good ride, and what's been really nice is the retailers and our consumer have just had such an awesome reaction to it, and you know, it's nice when folks get it real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we are Indie Agency News, and you
yeah,
and I have talked about this, you know, off the air
yeah.
several times, and just your affinity for great creative minds,
Mhm.
great creative leadership. Tell us a little bit about your experience on the agency side, and especially on the independent agency side, and what really attracted you to independent agencies.
Um, what attracts me to independent agencies is I get to work with people hands on. I think, you know, for me, it's exciting because in a lot of ways, independent agencies are a lot like the work that I tend to get attracted to, which is a little earlier stage, a little less finished, um, all the mojo in the world that you can possibly muster. That with a little bit of collaboration can be a phenomenal experience for both the agency and me as a client. I mean, my responsibility is not just to take and go make me a piece of work. As a brand owner, I have to be intimately involved in what that piece of work starts to look like, and how do we leverage this amazing relationship together to drive a piece of work or a body of work that really impacts a business. And if we do it right, it doesn't just impact the commercial side of my business. If we do it right, it materially impacts the commercial side of the agency partners business.
So as we look through the process of pitching, and
Yeah,
we all know that pitching is broken.
yeah,
My contention, and again, I always like to take procurement out of it.
yep,
It's my contention that the chemistry session should be first. And it's a
yeah.
situation where it's like, yeah, you know what? I see your creds, I see all that. You know, I can get an idea of what you're good at. But where does the chemistry where does chemistry fit with you? Because you're such a you're such a unique and interesting and interested individual. You have this innate curiosity. So it occurs to me that the chemistry session for you, or just chemistry in general, you probably put a big premium on that.
It's a huge premium for me, because I'm not worried. I worry less about what the solution is and more how people work together. Because if we get along really well and you're smart folks in a room, you're going to find the solution.
Yeah.
So for me, as I'm going through my process, I encourage folks to include me in the process as they're thinking through their process and how they might attack a piece of business. And I'm very clear with, if you need me, I'm there. And there's no whatever you say to me is not a penalty. It's at all. And I invite you to call me up on a Thursday at 2 in the afternoon and say, Russell, we were just thinking this thing and we don't know if it has any legs or not, but here's a tendril of an idea. And how does it land? And those moments to me are the moments that make the huge difference. The folks who go off into another corner, especially how I like to work, I invite people to bring me into the process. I know a lot of other folks don't like that.
Right.
I'm not a black box kind of person like that. But for me, when I make that invitation, it's a sincere invitation. It's not a,
right. Lip service.
It's not a bullshit invitation. It's sincere because I'm invested. And the folks who take advantage of that is a real premium in my book. And it allows me to see how people think. It allows some course correction and also allows for some just freaking crazy land to happen. Where, you can't quite get it on a pitch deck, but let me talk about a thing. And sometimes a little gem of an idea is sitting in that thing, and it actually creates the campaign.
Yeah. And the thing that I talk a lot about is competence and confidence. Every agency has competence, but going in with confidence is incredibly important.
Yeah, look, it's scary to be a creative these days. There's very little perceived value in it. There is a perception that AI can take over the job.
Bullshit.
Yeah, we all know that.
Right.
And technologies just sort of says, it devalues the decade or two, in some cases more, experience that one brings to the solution, because that's the X factor. It's that experience and that insight.
Yep. The human side. Speaking of which, bringing in Christy Heiler from Cornet. Hi. Did I get your? Yeah, there we are. Hi, Christy. Say hi to Russell. Say hi. Unmute yourself. Jean saw Russell.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hey. So here's a fun fact. As I like to say, huge industry, small business. Russell, during his Pop Chip days, worked with Jean and Zambezi.
I know.
Yes, we did.
I was in more on the operations side and really helping scaling. I was behind the scenes in those days.
Yeah.
But I remember it well. It was crazy times. Good times.
Yeah. Crazy times. Oh, those crazy times. Those crazy times. Well, Russell, thank you so much. Christy, I get to see in Lexington next week. I'm going to Kentucky. Yes. Yeah, I'll explain that in a minute. But Russell, thank you, number one, for your support of Indie Agency News. I did mention to you that we will be launching Indie Brand News probably in the fall. So thank you for all of your help and advice behind the scenes, and look forward to Delicious being one of our members. Presumptive close of Indie Brand News. Look at me, presumptive close.
Excellent.
Yes, but again, the official 4 p.m. snack of Indie Agency News is Delicious. Russell, you are free to go. We'll see you soon, my brother.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Bye,
all right, Russell. Fantastic. Hi. So, I should put music to make it seem like we changed something. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is true. I'm going to the Amen conference next week in Louisville. I pronounced it correctly, Christy. Thank you.
You did.
Yes.
Welcome.
And then I'm going to Lexington, and then I'm flying out of Cincinnati. So I'm doing a little bit of a Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati thing. Probably see a couple people in Cincinnati. Looking forward to that as well. You know, there's going to be chili. There's definitely going to be chili. So
And horses.
lots of horses, which my daughter is going to be very jealous of. So yeah, but I'm very much looking forward to that. So thank you to Eamon also for bringing Kyle O'Brien from Adweek and I over to their conference in Louisville. I want to talk. So thank you, number one, for joining us as usual. And again, you lead your agencies, but you're also the co-founders of OwnIt. So for those who are unaware, give us a little bit of a snapshot of how OwnIt started and how it has been growing from its inception. Who wants to take that one? Christy, you take that.
Well, I'll take how it started.
Great.
It really started from a question. Shortly after I purchased Cornet, I asked what I thought was a pretty simple question. And that question was, how many other female agency owners are there? And it turned out that was not such a simple question to get an answer to, because nobody could give me an answer. Finally, after pestering 4As, they gave me a list of 200 agencies that had female agency owners. And I had already known that there were 20,000 agencies registered under the NAICS code for advertising agencies in the US. So I was very disappointed when there were only 200 that they knew of. Now, initially, I just thought it's because nobody is tracking it. And so I have a really great web team here. So I thought I'll just build a site that will make it easy for us to find the real number. Hopefully it is not 200, but I can tell you 2 years later, we have been tracking it. And I would not say that we have a complete list. Hopefully it's never complete, but I would say it's pretty close. We've got most female agency owners on our list. And there are close to 600. 600 is better than 200, but it's still not nearly enough. So the second phase really was, okay, what do we do to see that number go up? And a big piece of that is sharing how women came into ownership. And that piece is the podcast. We want to share stories of all of those. And I've talked to 100 of the 600.
Yes, you have.
In the past few years. So I can, so I feel pretty confident that I have a good handle on what the issue is, what's holding women back from stepping into this position. And the biggest thing is confidence, and also just feeling alone in it. So that's how we got here. But Jean, maybe you can build on that.
Yeah, definitely. Really, I think, yes, it's data informed, right? Because if you don't have data is a starting point where this is not an emotional conversation. This is a rational conversation based on facts.
Right.
Women are not represented on an ownership capacity in this industry. We've made progress, as we know, in terms of women in leadership positions, which is amazing and needs to also be recognized.
Right.
But what OwnIt really does is take it specifically more to ownership and focusing on that. And, the data, as we see across women-owned businesses in the US, 40% of all businesses are women-owned, which is kind of unbelievable if you think about the scope and scale of what that contributes to the US economy. But the fact of the matter is the businesses are small. 90% of it don't have more than one person on payroll. So really from an OwnIt perspective, what we are trying to do is have those stories also come so we can help grow and scale women's businesses. Majority of the 600 agencies that we have now put within our community, they want to grow their businesses. They want to get bigger clients. But how do we do that? And I think that's what Christy and I are really now starting to do, that with conversations, giving access to have that scaling capacity to really make an impact in the industry.
Yeah. And so, I think that what has been, we go back to like 3% and we go to, just looking at the industry in general, when we start looking in issues based, but I do like the fact that this is data led and very rational in a lot of ways, in most ways. And what I find interesting is there are all these different solar systems, these little orbits. And what I'm noticing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it starts really wide. And what I've been noticing with the two of you and the rest of your team and the rest of your, the rest of owners and people that you're interviewing, it's starting to get smaller. And so you're becoming this unifier. Not to say that there aren't other unifiers, but it feels like, similarly to a certain independent agency news thing building, it's progressing over time, and you're building it in a way that's built for sustainability as opposed to the big hit, right? So I'm curious about what you've noticed from the beginning to now and just your perception, because it is always good to pause and say, you know what? We've done a lot of great things, and we can really quantify some of these things. So I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
Well, I'll kind of jump in and say a couple things. One, I think we just kind of stepped on something, and I really have felt all along like Jean and I just kind of opened the door, and there were so many people ready to run through it.
Right.
And I would say this past summit that we had in New York is evidence of that. I mean, we had 90 women owners come from all over the United States, flew in to New York just for that. And it was sold out. I mean, there were so many women that wanted to come that we just didn't have the capacity for. So the community, it was just under the surface, and we just kind of, allowed it to come out. And I think what I believe in, like in the core of my being, is that together, Doug, we are going to go so much farther than any one of us could individually. So
100%.
This community, it's like, especially in that room, like the vibe and the feel and the energy, like it is incredible. So I don't know, like, it's not like we set out with this master plan of like all of these things. We didn't. That's
why it works. That's why it works. Yeah.
We have day jobs. We both
I know.
But I think that, like, last year we had a virtual summit. That was kind of how we started.
I remember that.
Over 300 people attend
for
that. And that was when Chrissy and I also just really started to feel like there's something to this. Like, this is great. This is really good vibes. I mean, I think independent agencies specifically at times feel like we don't belong in this industry. We've all had occasions when we go to either, industry events in like New York or something. It's like, who is this for? This doesn't feel like this is for me.
Right.
And it doesn't feel like there's the camaraderie. It feels like there's the competition. But with OwnIt, it's always been camaraderie, even though we do compete against each other from time to time, because we all see of like what can be in the future and how we can help other agencies continue to grow, is really the overlying like vibe of it. Christy, why don't you tell the anecdote of, after when the showing the enthusiasm on LinkedIn coming out of the event.
Yeah. Well, what was funny is I had somebody reach out to me and say, did you orchestrate everybody posting after the event? Was that something that you asked everybody? And I was like, no, that's just like, they're just doing it because a couple of reasons. Here's what I would say. The community is meaningful to this group. And yes, we're competing, but I would also tell you, for me, a lot of it is about lifting each other up more often than it is about competing. I mean, there have been a number of times when opportunities have come that aren't right for us, but I've passed them on to others who they are right for. So yes, we're competing, but I also think that we're really going to work together to make progress in the industry, but also to build each other up. And that's a lot of what the OwnIt platform is for, to make sure that everybody can share their story so that other women can hear it in this business and know that this is possible. You can do this. You can do it differently because we're all doing it differently too. Like I've taught, every time I talk to these women, it's like they blow my damn mind. Seriously, like they're so incredible. And that was really what we opened this summit with, was this group is making big news and big moves. And I just went through and rattled off, and it is impressive, Doug, what this group is doing.
Oh,
but we are small in number right now. Okay. So what we need to do, and there are some of us that are taking up a good amount of space, we're taking up some good space proportionately in the awards lists and on stages and on the pages of these publications. But we structured this summit to give everybody some insight and some tips on how do we take up even more space. We're small in numbers, so we got to take up as much space as possible. And we brought in experts from the PR side and from new business to help us grow our share of voice and to help us grow our share of the market. And then, of course, we also added Cindy Gallup to just really ruffle some feathers and get us pumped up. And, and it was fantastic.
All right. So I'm putting this up here because I want to make a point, Christy. So you are a proud Oregon alum.
I am. Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at October 5th and October 12th on the date. So you had a summit in New York. What if we have one in Portland in October? Do we like that idea?
Well, listen, I'm going to let Jean say more about
I just want to throw it out there.
Doug, I think I'm actually going to the Ohio State game on the 12th. So.
Okay. All right.
But no, we coming out of our New York event, again, sold out. We were scrambling to try and figure out, are we having fire code issues if we allow more people in?
Oh my gosh. Well, in New York, yeah.
Christy and I moonlighting as event planners, getting sound, getting catering, getting all of that. So, but everyone wants more. They're like, this was great. When's the next one? So we're in the process of planning our next event. Location will be Los Angeles.
Oh, I like that.
Yep. Going to the West Coast. So stay tuned for more of an overall agenda from that aspect. But again, I think really what we've always done with our events is, yes, we want to have it continue to build confidence, continue to build community. But at the root of it is we want you to learn something tangible that you can take away, that you can apply to your business tomorrow.
Yep.
And I think that is what people really appreciate when we bring the groups and the formats together, learning that can be implemented immediately.
I'll cover LA. But then, there's always a school of thought of doing, mini versions of this too, and training somebody who may be wearing a red, white, and blue hat that, maybe gets Portland, Seattle, and Boise and Vancouver, BC agencies together and just, I'm just saying that, maybe that could be a thing. So.
Yeah. Well, here's what I would say to that. I do think that yes, there's conversations. Could we do it here? Hey, could we have one in Chicago? That one, Chicago gets mentioned a lot too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the answer is yes. Jean and I are not going to plan every one of them, but please feel free to build that.
Yeah, we'll do that with Think Northwest, the other hat that I wear. Yeah, absolutely. No, so we'll actually, I'm going to get the board together and I'm going to ask about that. So look at me. It's like we're having a phone call and I'm sitting here telling you all these things, but now it's public. So, and good to know that, Jean, you'll be there for the Ohio State game. Ducks 44, Ohio State 40. There's your prediction for that. Go Ducks. What else is on your, so Christy, you and I have plenty to catch up on next week, but what else you got cooking? Let's tell us what you got cooking work-wise, anything you want to share right now. Shameless promotion time. Who wants to go first? She gets to go first.
really proud of, we've had a lot of great creative launches that have come out in the first half of the year. Big campaign for Atlantis and the Bahamas, really kind of expanding what we've been doing in tourism and travel. UKG, which really is HR B2B SaaS platform, and we've really managed to bring a lot of humanity to that category. And they're wonderful people, and I love working with UKG. We've learned a lot from them. They're as just how they run their business. They're always named the best place to work for women in tech. How they treat their own employees is replicated through how the brand messaging comes through. So that's been really exciting from that aspect. But I think, like a lot of agencies, like 23 was pretty rough. I think also just trying to navigate 24 specifically for independents, being nimble, being able to shift and move and see what's happening in the marketplace. But I think, there's never been more of a role and a need for independent agencies right now. And I'm excited just to continue to see what opportunities lie ahead as we get back. We all know what's coming at us in the back half of the year from an election cycle standpoint.
Oh God.
And we just want to bring in the joy and the happiness of why we do what we do. So that's what I'm focusing on.
Yeah, I love, and I talk about this so much, and I think the two of you definitely demonstrate this, is confidence. It's just, you belong in the rooms, everybody belongs we are fucking professionals and good professionals in the indie space. We deserve every bit of being in those rooms. All right, Christy, I was stalling for time for you there.
Thanks.
So wait a second. What are we going to do when I come to Lexington?
Of course, we're going to go to the races. Keeneland is the historical racetrack that is unbelievably beautiful and so much fun. So we're going to, Doug, we're taking you to the races.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are some other fun, wonderful people in this business that are also going to be in town. So they will be joining us. And so we'll do that for sure. And I would say, yes, for us here, spring is very much about Keeneland. We got a lot of fun things happening where we are here in Lexington, Kentucky. But for the agency also, I think we're just at this really exciting and interesting place as an agency. We have a lot of opportunity and momentum, and we're really being intentional about how we grow. Who we add internally, what clients we add. We're really being super thoughtful about that. We've got a lot of really fun work that is going to be rolling out in the next couple months. Everybody's super pumped about that. But I would say as we grow, we're looking at those opportunities, but we're also just really looking at the opportunities for every person here to get better. That's kind of the DNA of everybody here. We want the work to be the very best. That is our compass. We want to get better and better and better. And we want to have the opportunities that are going to help us do that. And we want to build and bring on more people that help us sharpen the execution and the work. So we got some really fun stuff coming, but it's also, just what more is right for us and being responsible with that growth. I really want, I want to manage that well. I see a lot of agencies, and then that's the best part about independence. We get to do that. We get to choose. And I really want to flex that. And I lean in on that. And I use that as kind of our superpower. So
I love it.
I don't want to lose who we are. I want to get better
Please
and
don't.
better, but not lose who we are.
I don't think you would.
I don't think you could.
I don't think Jean would either. I don't think either of your agencies would.
But I think those are some of the threats for us, right?
Yeah. No, and that is a reality, and that's something that we definitely can talk about in the future. But I do like your point about momentum, about the confidence, and you're right. Really good work. And Jean, I love what you said about UKG, because a lot of those B2B brands, it's so hard to thread narrative in a way for the consumer to B2B consumer to really understand it's more than simply just a thing. There's something bigger going on there. So kudos to those teams for doing that work. I'm going to put you both backstage. First of all, thank you so much. Oh God, I just realized she said we're going to the races, so I got to go to the bank. Go take care of that.
Only get out what you're willing to part with. Okay.
No. I'm still playing with house money in many, many ways. So there was a time during my radio days when I may or may not have won a few grand on a football pool, but so I'm still playing with house money a little bit. So no, but I'm really excited to see you, Christy. Gene, as always, thank you so much. And fun fact, we may have some new members in Minneapolis, so I may be heading to the Twin Cities, my original hometown. I was born outside of Minneapolis, so that's going to be happening soon. Nice. Hang out backstage, but thank you both for joining us.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. And thank you so much for joining us. And to our members, thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to learn more and how we prioritize our members, because the brief is very simple: building the global home for independent agencies. Our mission: serve independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. The goal: more visibility for indies, more choice for marketers. So thank you to Christy, to Gene, and to Russell Barnett for joining us today. On behalf of everybody at Indie Agency News, I'm Doug Zanger. See you next time.